Well, hey team, we are going to continue working artwork for the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration supplement that we've been building. Give me a second here to check my signal, go through my intro spiel, and then we'll get to work on some more artwork this morning. So let's see, mic check, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Let's see, mic check, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Yep, sounds good. All right, cool. Okay, so I'm setting up some links here, and I'll be posting online that I am live. So, intro spiel. Hey, my name is Theurgy. I create role-playing game supplements. I illustrate them, I publish them online, and I've been focusing my attention here on Dungeons & Dragons for the past 5 years. There are a slew of links in the description down below to different books that I've already created in the past. They all have a lot of free preview. So if you click on the full preview button on a desktop, or if you are on mobile, there's an eye icon on the right hand side of the screen for each of the product pages. If you click into those, it'll open up a PDF for you to take a look at the type of stuff that I've done. And so if you're here for pitching pixels and artwork, there's probably about 150 different illustrations across just the works that are linked down below, and there's a lot more out there as well. If you're a D&D enthusiast, the stuff that I build is stuff that I use in my own campaigns. It's typically stuff goes from level 1 to 20, or can be used at all those levels. So whether you're on the side of the DM side or the player side of the screen, the stuff that we have there, there's stuff there for you to check out. If you think any of it's cool, consider making a purchase to support similar shenanigans in the future. Also, I just posted that I'm live on Twitter, so if you want to get notifications of when I'm active, you can follow me on Twitter, or X at Theurgy. Most importantly, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when I'm live in the future. I am striving to reach 500 subscribers. If I can hit that before the end of the year, that would be amazing, but we're not going to go anywhere. We're currently at episode 243 of this. Hey, Karen, it's good to see you. We're at episode 243 right now. This book cover that we have here on screen, we made this back around episode 15 of the playlist, so you can go back and check out the creation of this as well as all the other content that is in this document. Just to wrap up what we're doing here is we have an idea for a supplement. Since I'm focused on 5e, we find something that, I generally find something that I want to use in my campaigns, and I need to build the rules for it, and if they're good, I will play test them. And then buff out all the mechanics and the text of it. We then send it off to an editor who edits it and then sends it back to us. Once we get it back, we drop it into a layout program to break up the text to make it look cool. I just use Microsoft Word, like you can see here on screen. Once we like how everything looks, we can zoom into each individual page. We extract that page as a PDF document. We then load it here into Photoshop, and then we just start painting on it until it's done. And then when all the artwork is done, we extract all the artwork, we drop it into the book, we'll seal the book into a PDF. Like in the description down below, we'll publish it on DMsGuild, since this is a D&D IP specifically, Spelljammer. The only place I can officially publish this in exchange for money on a marketplace is DMsGuild. In the future, I'll probably have additional content to support this that I can publish on my Patreon. I can add on to DMsGuild and bundle with this to create a discount opportunity for bulk purchasing different products. Or I could go a completely different direction with the mechanics of this and build something different and do a Kickstarter and a DTRPG print on demand. So we're looking at doing DTRPG print on demand Kickstarter stuff probably 2025. I still got a lot of stuff that I want to do involving DMsGuild and existing Wizards of the Coast IPs before I break away and start doing my own stuff. But it's out there, and when the muse says it's time to jump, we're going to jump. So for the meantime, we're just going to dive back into this project. So we were building this catapult, or rather a ballista here, with a loading crew. Once we have the crew finished and the ballista's done, and we clean up the asteroids just to add in a little bit more these are pretty well detailed asteroids here and here. So we'll want to have that same effect for the rest of these asteroids, which this is something I pick at when I'm listening to Let's Plays of different games or listening to seminars or something like that. So I'll pick at these asteroids in my own time. But here on Screen Time with you guys, we're going to. We spent a lot of time on the anatomy of the ballista yesterday, so I think what I want to do is switch gears and start working on the foreground characters, just to keep moving this thing forward. So if at some point I get an itch to just start jumping and pushing this thing forward, then I won't be holding anyone else up. So I'm going to drop all this into ballista. I'm going to put a lock on it for now. How you doing, Karen? Oop, I got a heater going, and it just told me that I am done cooking. So it's getting into the 40s up here in Seattle, which means I get to go buy firewood this weekend and start heating my home with a wooden fireplace, which I am excited about. Space heaters and fireplaces is the only is how I basically heat my home. There's not a lot of space people take up here, so it's pretty easy to be able to keep on top of it. So let's see. Let's work out the commander first to work out the amount of detail that we want here, and then from there, let's see. That was the loose sketch of the character. I think I want to. Where was I pulling colors from? Here. From here? I've lost my color reference, so I have to go find it again. Problem with not seeing color is color references can be tricky to track down. it's been a hot minute since I've hung out here. So let's see, that's slightly blue. I'll find it. There's a lot of redness going on here. I know there's a... This is a screenshot from Cutthroat Island. And this is Pirates of the Caribbean, of course. Where did that blue come in from? Well, it's a very mild blue. Oh, no, that's actually just gray. Huh? Alright, well that's gray. What about this? Okay, good. I still have color variant in here. Interesting. Why can't I find that reference? Here? I'll find it. Give me a minute. Well, I like this, so I'm just going to use this. Not like that. Like that. Yeah, that's a nice mild merge. Whoops, wrong screen. Merge down here. Disappear that. This should actually be further back in the background than the rest of this because it's something being held and the hand is blocking view of it because of how, facing works. We got maybe 5 or 6 illustrations left before before all the actual painting is done. I think that's true. Like, not a lot. We don't have many go, so we should be finishing this up in another month or two. I'm before 2024. I pray it is done before Christmas. Jeebus. How I pray. But we will see. We will see if that dream comes true or not. God, I certainly hope so. I originally had thought this project was going to be done in August. Boy, that was wrong. That was wrong. That's okay. No one's holding a gun to my head about getting this thing done. I don't have any deadlines. I don't have any print on demands. I don't have any Kickstarter commitments. It's a good thing I'm still this level of amateur in this industry, because I think the next big skill I need to develop is hitting goddamn goals. Like, if I can get to that point, I think I might actually have a chance of being a professional game designer. I don't remember where I saw it, but I heard a great quote, and it was, your hobby becomes your job when you hate the work you have to do for it. And there are plenty of things I hate about, like, I don't like building product pages. I don't like cleaning up artwork so that it's ready for stock art. You know, stuff that would make more revenue for the artwork that I do, I don't like to do, and that's a strong indication that I'm still a hobbyist, because I don't have to do the things I don't like to do, and everything is still fine. If I were to make this my sole income, I would have to crank out stock art, like product pages, and post them online, and then advertise them, and then set a budget in doing that. These are a lot of things that I have not wanted to do, that I've talked about in the past. It's been a hot minute, but specifically, I don't want to get to a place where I'm not enjoying the workflow that would be necessary to be successful as a business. This is very much a hobby for me right now, because I don't want to. These books are so big. And it's just me that's making them at this stage, like all the art assets and layouts and stuff like that. Like, for me to be able to cut profit on these types of books, I have to basically do it yourself, which slows the production to a crawl. I'll know that this should be more of a business space when it becomes more profitable for me to hire someone else to do the work that I don't want to do than to do it myself. It's a really good indication that your business is taking off when you can't afford to not hire other people to help you get things done, which is certainly where I'm hoping to be when I start kickstarting stuff. So I'm pretty comfortable with. I'm gonna. You know what? Oof, God, I'm half tempted just to merge this whole thing down. Which I think right now would be a mistake. It's me being impatient, but I do want to move that head a bit there, and I'm sculpting here. Do some more sculpturing. We're gonna up our smudge there. That's probably enough about business. Let's stop talking about business. This general smudging that I do with the brush is pretty good for fabric. Not so much hard point material like, you know, metal and wood and stuff, but for fabric, it's pretty good. I like this song a lot. I say it every time I hear it. It's my favorite song on Epidemic right now. It's because I just like the percussion of it. Maybe I need to have this guy's arm out stretched more. Duplicate the layer, protect myself from my mistakes. Hey! That's going to cause a twist in his hips, having that out like that. That actually, oh boy, hold on. Yeah, had to shift that entire frame. That actually, I think that feels pretty good. I like that. Put a bend in him. We can pull this over a bit. Nice. I'm happy with that. Very, very happy with that. Pull his hand over a bit, like that. Center that up. God, that feels good now. It just feels. It's got that energy that's just pushing. That's so fucking good. All right. Happy. Happy, happy. Very, very happy. Do some more sculpting here. Bunch of shirtless mooks back here. What you looking at? There we go. That is my 20-minute timer. We keep a 20-minute pace around here to make sure that I don't fall into any eddies of irrelevance. Also to check myself on what my conversation's about at the moment to make sure I'm not in some sort of weird space. So far, I haven't stuck my foot in my mouth. That's good. Should I be concerned that my mind immediately queued up like 6 things I could say just to really fuck myself over? It's like that vertigo feeling, that tendency to jump off a cliff, like when you walk up to the edge of it. I have that with my conversations sometimes. Like, what third rail can I touch in stream right now that'll completely self-destruct myself? And I don't think I want to. I'd very much like to not do that. Where's that line coming from? That's weirdness. Hold on, I'll track it down. See that line back there? That's weirdness. I have no idea where that's coming from. There it is. Huh. No. Let's go here. Actually. Bring that in. Here with the belts. It's always weird painting characters from behind. That feels pretty good. Clean up that. Yeah. It's the best way I find to be able to pull it off is just as we have here, is having a lot of action going on, like this group action. Obviously, they're all working together to achieve a goal here. I think what I want to do is actually reduce the size of this dude a tick or two. I like that shadow framing his hand. And if I de-emphasize him a touch on the size, I can afford to do this. Yeah, that feels good. I'm going to close that one up. I'm going to get back to this guy. I'm going to increase him just a tick as well. I don't have the machinery here yet, but I'll have a wheel. I need to have a wheel here, and a firing arm. That guy's good as is. Yeah, this is gonna be okay. This is gonna be okay. That butt needs to come down though. Cheeky monkey. Build it like a doublet. Should be fine. There we go. There was a request on one of the Spelljammer Discords for a hammer fighter craft, a dwarven fighter craft. that has a cannon and a bludgeoning ram that I want to build. I want to finish up this piece, and then I want to build a fighter craft for that dwarven fighter craft. So that's on the horizon. That'll take like maybe 30 minutes or so to build that out. I just want to make sure I'm prepping. I want to get this. I want to clear this from my plate, and then I'm going to spend a minute to do that, and then we'll dive into another piece after this one. But after this piece, I'm gonna pull out of the combat chapter and jump into the exploration chapter. And because there's less art assets. There's actually a lot less assets I need in the exploration chapter by far than the combat chapter. So it'll just be a nice change of pace for a little bit to switch over to a different focus for a little bit. So if everything goes well, I should have this piece done by Monday. I'd like to finish this piece over the weekend. Just get whatever I can done here on Friday, which is why I'm spending time on these characters right now. Spend whatever time I can on these here now, and that's looking pretty good. And then take the rest off screen. I've been attempting to resolve all the diagrams and ship movement maps and charts and stuff off screen, because that tends to have less interest from folks that are showing up for the artwork. Like, that's kind of graphic design work, but it doesn't really appeal to anybody. So that's what I've been trying to do with my time off screen. But I'm running out of artwork. We only have a few more pieces, like 5 more pieces that we actually need to do after this one, and then we'll actually be like out of artwork. And so I would have to the shadowing catches the viewer's eye, and that it works well. To the eye, to that. Oh yeah. Thank you. Yes. One of the, I would say one of my strengths, I don't see color, right? So I'm always pulling color references from someplace, but what that allows me to do is hyper focus on on separating images and playing with contrast a lot. I like to do like I talk about this occasionally, this banding effect. I have like light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. It just kind of bump. So all the images are like this tip of this ballista bolt, framed mostly like things that are darker around it. This guy will probably end up being blonde, which will help contrast against the draw arm of the ballista and the doublet that he's wearing, for instance. Like having that cadence. So you're having all these different color striations, or these different black-white values. They call it value. Black to white is the value of the pigment that you're working with. And I work almost exclusively, since I don't see any color. I pretty much only work in values. And then whatever value I want to use, I'll find a color that works inside of that value. So I spend a lot of time thinking about how images, like each of the elements in the piece, are framing around each other and what the negative space is doing with the foreground space. I think it would actually work really well in a comic book style. But I just like doing painterly stuff. So this tends to be the type of pieces that I create. But thanks for the compliment. That's where that comes from. I would say, if anything, I've learned that any weakness can become a strength, depending on how you make use of the resources that are available in the circumstances. I used to be on this crusade to help people that are colorblind like me figuring out, like, using these tools if they want to be painters, how to be able to effectively paint in color. As far as I know, I'm pretty much the only monochromatism that is interested in color painting. So I used to spend a lot of times on like colorblind forums and stuff like that on like Facebook and stuff. And it turns out that very, very little interest from the general colorblind audience in being color painters. So it's just me. No one else seems to care. It'd be excellent if there were more people with color limitations like me that wanted to be involved in art that I could assist. They just don't exist. I just don't think they, for the most part, people that are colorblind generally just kind of stay away from painting. But I gotta put it out there, you know. Anyone that's colorblind that wants to get into color work for whatever reason, I'm more than happy to help. Like, it's just a matter of getting used to the medium and trusting your and trusting your reference images. Like, I've made made mistakes in the past of like using skin tones that are using sepias of like gold texture, like a gold wash and stuff like that. Sepias are tricky. A sepia is like when you do a color wash over an image. And it causes everything in the picture to have that hue being color. Just gonna block that in. Do-do-do-do. I like the song too. Oh. Ron, Karen, you're very positive. It's nice having you around. Thank you. I'll merge those down. Feels right. It's nice having positive people in your world. You know, universal you. There, these little shoulder, not quite pauldrons. They aren't ornate enough to have the title of pauldron. That's essentially what they are. Doublets are fairly stiff leather. So, and that's kind of where the vest came from. It's a light material doublet, and doublets were formal. As I understand it, it's formal attire in the medieval ages. So the vest evolved from professional / formal attire. But they make for good armor, like leather armor. There. At one point, I had full garb like this for Ren fairs back in my 20s. I eventually let it go just because I didn't go to Ren fairs anymore. Really, it just wasn't something I got into anymore. I didn't want to invest a lot of money on a lot of clothing that I would barely ever use, so I kind of got out of the scene. But while I was in it, I did get to pick up some nuggets of information about how this type of clothing works that lets me construct some fairly decent looking material. I was always interested in knights and medieval combat and sieges and castles. Even before I found D&D, like when I was 8 years old, I had a bunch of castle books and like books of plate mail anatomy and all the French titles of all the different pieces. Like I was studying that stuff when I was 10. I need to be careful I don't make his torso too big compared to the shoulders, otherwise it's gonna the garment will feel uneven. So I need to take this and pull that forward and then fill in the gap. I see some text down there, I'll get to you in a second. I like growing old. Yeah, no kidding, right? More positive, more better. I've been busy at work this week. I'll start working on converting a sci-fi character species next week. Have more free time. Good! Karen, I don't think I've heard you say. Is there are you like a travelers or a Pathfinder enthusiast, or what's your sci-fi game flavor of choice, or are you? I don't even know. Like if I see you running around on game design streams, so I'm guessing you're a game enthusiast, but you could just be a writer. Just a writer. Sorry to insult writers out there. Cancelled. There. I want to get that curve in. I used to be a really big Gamma World enthusiast, which is like After the Bomb, like sci-fi meets Mad Max, sort of gonzo post-apocalypse sci-fi fantasy tropes. Super fun stuff, like mutant bug creature people, and like, God, there were so many species. Like every creature in that game you could play as a species. Like there weren't any classes. All the classes were just different races or species. And then there was like skill kits that you would acquire. And they kept that fairly consistent through the different editions. Like the 4th edition version of Gamma World, I think, is the last version that was ever made, at least like to date. And that was all characters had the same leveling, like level scaling. The only difference from one character to another was what race they were and what gear they had and what random mutations you rolled. But it was a very light and loose, fast system that wasn't, it was a very beer and pretzels sort of game. But first, second edition, I never saw third edition, but first and second edition are really ornate, like as complicated and disjointed as Advanced Dungeons and Dragons was, except it's after the bomb, post-apocalypse fantasy type stuff. Well, if you're going to be respectful enough to respond, I should really be respectful enough to read it. Give me a hot second. Yeah. That's where I see you. On Indestructible Boy. Follow. So yeah, yep. Okay, D&D. Also played some other RPGs and in the past too. Love sci-fi stuff, but not horror. Yeah, I can't get into horror genre. Nice. I hear really good things about LP. There's also oh god, I can't remember the name of it. There's a role-playing game where everyone plays stuffed animals that protect sleeping children from monsters under the bed. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, but I hear that's a lot of fun. Which is like you can have combat in that game, but it's dissuaded, more of an exploration sort of game, and I understand that's what My Little Pony is like as well. Like there is no combat. Friendship is how you resolve everything. So it's a matter of, if I understand it correctly, it's a matter of finding out what the antagonist's problem is and helping them find a solution where they can become part of the larger friend network. So it's just it's kind of like a hug the monster until it's your pet sort of thing. But I only have the most cursory information about how MLP works. Oh, that's a shame. Ain't that how it is though? You get a good group and then it falls apart due to time. Attrition's a bitch. My table keeps making jokes that we all want to move into the same retirement home so we can just play D&D until we forget that we're not playing D&D. Until the dementia makes us port out of our current reality and just get lost in fantasy world. What a great way to exit. Kind of sad. Very notebooky. Yeah, this is coming along. I'm happy with this. Blah, blah, blah. I like this degree of separation from the platform base. It's just I just like the framing. This is coming along nicely. I'm happy with this. Let's do something about this horrible belt. Text. Oh yeah, I didn't even know they had a CCG. Huh. Oh wow. I remember when I was 10 years old, Garbage Pail Kids was a hot new commodity on the bubblegum market, and I had aspired initially to collect all of the Garbage Pail Kids, and some of the students in class would come in with like a binder full of all of them. And God, the amount of money you have to spend to collect all of the Garbage Pail Kid cards is ridiculous, because there's variants of each one of them. There's like 3 variants, like different names for each illustration. So you want to get all the different names involved with them. But I quickly realized at the tender age of 10 that card collecting is a large money game. I was not able to accumulate enough allowance fast enough to be able to keep up with the binders that were showing up at school. Like, I don't know where these kids are getting their money from, but they're spending a lot on Garbage Pail Kids. And that broke me almost immediately of CCG, any kind of like sense of completionism. I think that actually served me well when video games started having quests and stuff built into them, because I was just not interested in that at all. Like, my sense of completionism is just not at all. Like, I take what I want, I leave the rest, and at some point my brain goes, my brain goes, you're losing quality of experience by obsessing over goal pursuit. Stop it. And I've always been pretty good about listening to that voice screaming in my head. Belt. No, keep shaping the belt. I bet. I made into a MLPTC. No kidding. Oh, how fun. Oh, that's a shame. But neat. I admire it quite a bit. I'm a huge. For anyone out there that doesn't know, I'm a huge Magic the Gathering enthusiast. I love the lore. I love the worlds. I love the mechanics. I love the complexity. But I can't read the cards. They're too small for my damaged retinas, and I can't see the color. So it's really difficult for me to. Like, I have to literally, like on Arena, I have to like click on every card, like, to see what kind of mana it is that you're using, so I know what your colors are looking like. It's difficult for me to tell, like, what's on the card art on a small screen like that. So I've just been every opportunity I've bounced off of card games in general. Like, I can't play poker. You know, like at casinos and stuff, because I have no idea what anyone else has at the table. Impossible for me to bluff. I can't see people's, expressions. So reality built some interesting hard limitations on the activities that I get to perform. And honestly, I think that's probably served me well. I'm liking how this fabric is folding. Quite a bit. Ba-ba-ba-doo. Like, I don't want it to fold too much because that takes away from the structure of the material, but I do need to have it manipulatable. That's not the right word. I have plans to make a Discord. It'll be open use to anybody that wants to show up. It's not going to have any kind of paywall or anything associated with it. I think I'm getting to a point where that makes sense to have a community hub for the different types of books that I create. Since I create systems more so than just like classes, having a collect point where people can ask questions or demonstrate how they're utilizing the systems, and to be able to start building a playtest hub makes a lot of sense. So I'll be implementing that probably once this book is completed, because between color mana and the Spelljammer mechanics, there's a lot of conversations to be had about that in general. And then beyond that, the command system as a whole, like for guilds and kingdoms, as well as mass combat, that's all stuff that's going to be coming down the pipe here in the next couple of years. So it's I think it's important to start building a community hub for all this different stuff for folks to be able to interact with. And that's going to be an additional level of responsibility that I'm going to have to take on this business. Again, another have to sort of thing that pulls me away from being a free creative to bending it into more of a business model. And I don't want to talk about business more, but I am excited about building a community there. I've been a moderator for Terran Pound Indestructiboy on his Discord, the Designosphere. I've been modding there for is like 2 years now, but I think I'm getting a pretty good grip on like fair treatment, the weight of personality and community clout, like the inborn, like the authority that you have as a moderator in a community tends to create more weight behind what you say than just like a casual citizen would have. And I think I've had an opportunity to really learn from that experience about how to be even-handed, how to keep my own opinions separated from judgment calls about fair usage, about being tolerant of other people's opinions and perspectives, whether I agree with them or not, how to be able to maintain even fair judgment, and like when to penalize one person versus another, what's ban worthy, all those things. I think it's a good idea in general. Honestly, here's a free piece of advice. If you want to run your own community, it's good to be a moderator for a community that's structured like what you want before launching your own platform, because you need to have that experience of making executive decisions about like eliminating people from your platform, for instance, or like when to do a timeout for somebody, like when to flag conversations as like this conversation needs to stop before it goes a direction that I can't tolerate, that sort of stuff. And I think I'm just about at a point where I've got enough experience accumulated to be able to accomplish that successfully, which is exciting. So I'll continue moderating for Indestructible for sure, because I think that's a great community just to be in. But it's certainly allowed me. It's certainly advanced my skill set as a leader in general. I've always had a blessed opportunity to be put into leadership roles, and I have enough of an A-type personality that I enjoy being in that position. It doesn't hurt that I'm very much a prestige junkie. Like, I like having clout, I like having authority, I like having prestige. It's honestly, it's a way for me to use a social system for me to advance my own status within that community. People with disabilities traditionally have. Me speaking on behalf of everyone with disabilities out there, watch out, hot take. We generally feel disempowered and often have chips on our shoulders. And people with physical disabilities, for often obvious reasons, can't compete directly in a physical space against other contestants, as it were. So people with disabilities tend to excel in social spaces. We're seeing actually, oh boy, I could get political about that, about different people identifying injustices that they are experiencing for themselves, and expanding that out into sort of like a crusade against indignation or injustice, and making a righteous cause out of it. And that's something that folks do in their late 20s, early 30s. And I'm just not, I'm too old now to really have that crusader approach to the inequality of reality. Like people with disability, like people with like physical disabilities, as opposed to like alternate lifestyles and stuff, or even how do I put this? The hard cap on what someone with physical disabilities are capable of even attempting puts them in a separate category of perspective about a sense of fairness and unfairness in the world. It's difficult for somebody who is blind to say how unfair it is that everyone else gets to look at pictures, and to try to force their opinion onto other people that you shouldn't look at pictures, because it's not like somebody that's blind is being discriminated against. They're just simply incapable of interacting with reality at the same level as the rest of the people around them. So the idea that they're being treated poorly is like it's like whether you're being abused or not becomes a lot more evident in how you're treated by other people, and it's much swifter, and it's much deeper, and it's much more. It's on more of a social level. It's not. It's what am I trying to say here? I have a point here, and it's not one I'm going to regret making. So give me a second here to fish out how I want to say this. Being forced to deal with physical limitations that makes it obvious to me that there is inequality and that people are treated differently based on how they look or how they act is such a prevalent factor in my life, especially having grown up with a genetic limitation. makes it so obvious that there is injustice and inequality in the world that I don't get angry about it. I just have to accept that it's true and adapt accordingly. It doesn't, like, there's no amount of legislation that's going to let me see color. Or be able to compete in Magic the Gathering or poker. Or, like, to be able to see dice being thrown on a craps table. Like, I'm out of luck on that. And that is something that I will never be able to gain, regardless of how angry I may be about it. So I can't, like, outsource my rage to force other people to comply around me. What am I going to do? Get you to stop watching movies because I can't see as far as you on a screen? No, I have to get closer to the screen. I'm the one that has to adapt. And so I think that people with, like, physical disabilities like that get to a place quicker in their life where just it's like there's a joke that it's a stupid joke. It's more of a cone than anything else. But the statement goes like this: a liberal is a conservative that's never been mugged. And basically, that's basically what that means is that your idealism is acceptable in an understandable perspective until you have to deal with the reality that not everyone is willing to play fairly, and that people are willing to take advantage of you no matter what. And that's the idea of, like, this is like a 1990s quote. So 30 years ago, the reality is pretty different about where people's stances are politically and socially. I think that's and just to be fair across the board, I, as somebody with disabilities that relies on social services throughout my life to be able to get places, to do the things that I need to do as a blind person, I take that same perspective. Like what is it? Oh God, what is the I can't believe I'm blanking on the political perspective. It is it's not conservative, it's not Republican, it's not Green Party. It's give me a second. I need to make this statement to make sure I don't put my foot in my mouth. But there's an overarching statement that's happening here. It's not independent. God, I can't believe I'm blanking on this. The more of a wildflower in the young years at my job, I've been thrust into a minor leadership. Oh, really? And it's strange to me, but I've adapted to it. Nice. You know, wallflowers that make a lot of observations have the opportunity to observe how people operate. And leadership's more about, like, personality management, more so than anything else. Like, learning how to be able to help people be comfortable doing things that they need to do, or to be able to work as part of a team. And that skill is often acquired through patience and observation. Libertarianism, that's the word I want to make. So if the initial joke is a liberal is a conservative that's never been mugged, a libertarian is a progressive that's never had to suffer. Am I saying that right? The thing about libertarianism, for instance, is the whole philosophy is you're self-reliant, and you should be self-reliant. And everyone is self-reliant, and no one should get in the way of telling you what to do in your pursuits of what's right for you. But people with disabilities are from day one dependent on society to survive. So the idea of, like, a blind libertarian is such a conceited statement. Like, if you are blind and the only way you can be independent is if you have so much money that you can constantly pay people to help take care of you, in the frame of, you're not taking care of me, I'm paying you to perform this lackey role. And that's such a libertarian way of framing it. But anyone that's not rich, that has to deal with a disability, that relies on, like, say, mass transportation to get to the grocery store and back, those people cannot be libertarians, because at the heart of their own survival, they are reliant on society and taxes and taking resources from one group and giving it to themselves, a group that relies on those resources coming in. So like the idea of being a libertarian, it very much relies on never having to rely on someone else in the first place. So it's a flawed philosophy, which is the same joke about liberals never having been mugged, because at that point they in the 90s when that joke was going around, it was the idea of the idea of progressivism versus conservatism was a matter of utilizing resources to help other people, versus what libertarian evolved into for conservatives, which is being self-reliant. So the joke implies that you're independent and that you don't need other people's help to be able to get by. So you have this whimsical view that if you just take care of people, people will take care of you, which is why the mugging joke comes in there, because the conservative stance in the 90s was you need to protect yourself from people you can't rely on doing good to you. Like, you have to assume that people are going to screw you over, so you have to watch your back. Like, that was very, very much a 90s conservative perspective. And so the idea of being a liberal was that you think that humanity, it's like a positive humanism expression, where you assume that people want to do good, and that if given, and it's just that the resources aren't being used properly for the greatest good. While the conservative perspective was, no, people are going to take advantage of you no matter what. You have to protect your own and take advantage of other people if necessary, which is a very combative style. So like the hippie liberal insult came from, we think that people are going to do the right thing if given the opportunity to do so, versus people are absolutely going to be childish, selfish, and hurt you, which is the negative connotation that conservatives are framed in. It's evolved at this point into like conservatism is more of like pushing back against social progression, like allotting more rights to individual groups, while liberalism has kind of evolved into fighting to gain special rights for special groups, and then capitalizing on your designation as a special group to have more influence in conversation and social groups than those that don't. That's a very dark, evil take on where progressive and liberalism has gone to. Like, that is unchecked liberalism. I myself am a policy progressive, where again, being disabled gives me the perspective of like old people, damaged people, disabled people. We do need special consideration and protection in society because we are less capable than fully functioning, young, strong members of society. And because it's society, everyone needs protecting. The point of all this was that as a moderator, you have the opportunity to see how these different perspectives interact in a dynamic social setting like a Discord group or a Facebook group. And as a casual participant in these groups, you are flinging your opinion at each other, especially in arguments. But as a moderator, you have to stand outside of your own opinion and look at, is the conversation healthy to the community? Is anyone being damaged? And from the conservative perspective about never being mugged, what kind of damage can a hot conversation cause to your community? That as a moderator, it's your role to protect that community. Does a certain type of conversation need to be shut down? How do you disperse justice when people are taking shots at each other? What's a good cool down or timeout thing to do? Like those are really strong skills that a moderator needs to be able to accumulate. And you can't really run, because like when you have your own community, you are the top moderator in your own community. If you don't have any experience in conducting that moderation, then you could be building a community that's going to eventually self-destruct or become toxic because you don't have the ability or the skill set yet to be able to curb those personalities and bend them into working with each other, moving away from where conflict hotspots are. I'm kind of speaking nebulously here. But that was the whole point. Like, you have to be able to be above your own opinion and to be able to recognize the different social, political, and economic stances that people take that are all like D&D enthusiasts. Like all those different types of personalities have to interact, because social commentary and political opinions inevitably fall into a forum where people are grooving on the same wavelength. Like, hey, if we're both huge MTG enthusiasts and we hang out on a forum long enough, somebody in that community is going to say, hey, what do you think about the Israel-Gaza conflict that's going on right now? It's like, that has nothing to do with Magic the Gathering. Why are we talking about this? All it's going to do is polarize people, which is why like a lot of forums, like game forums, have like a no politics policy, like no social policy, like no social opinion policies. You have to keep an eye on how much can you moderate, and thus do you make these topics something that you can ban people over? And do you have the language in your rule set that spells out, hey, these are bannable offenses because moderating them is a higher lift and requires more capacity than the shoestring team can afford to, referee. Because at one point, moderators are just referees in conversations, making sure that people are operating within the bounds of good tenets of the community. And that's a large ask. So you need to have experience and opportunities to make mistakes inside of somebody else's communities, so that you can build your endurance and your intuition to be able to make good calls for your own community on top of it. So having said all of that, I'm really proud of the opportunity that I've had to be a moderator inside of Terran's Discord. And I think that skill set is going to end up serving me really well when I step out and start actively building my own community. So I'm excited about that. And I'm really proud that reality served me the perspective that I have as a whole. I grew up in a very conservative and wealthy household, like higher upper middle class. And so, but when I moved out of my home, I dropped to lower middle class very quickly, and had to rely on, like, I didn't get any handouts in my life other than the tools that I needed. Like, I ate up all of my family budget clout being disabled, because they had to invest a lot in making sure I had the resources growing up during school to try to be on an even foot. And tie that with a very libertarian, conservative parenting approach. It basically exhausted all of my parents' willingness to help me in life, because they did a shitload of lifting for me when I was a child. So it quickly became, we've given you everything that you need to be successful. You have to start being successful on your own. We're not going to give you money for college. If you want to go to college, you're going to have to figure it out yourself. We're not going to help you with buying a house. If you want a home, you're going to have to figure that out for yourself. Like, a lot of hard limits that made me see the importance of self-reliance, because I was forced to do it, but also how cruel not being given access to resources or being allowed to have an opinion on things that affect my life very deeply, like how that can affect people. And I think that allows me to have a much more empathic, I can see the different sides of different social commentary and political commentary that's going on in society right now. That's like a hotbed. it also helps that I'm old. Like being 50 in this time of life in Western culture is helps reduce the amount of like ultra hot takes that I make as far as like social status and standings, like what should be and what shouldn't be in society. Boy, I'm really rambling today. Thanks for letting me get on a kick like this, because boy, I'm just really throwing opinions around a lot right now. But I think it's important. Like your 30s is when you're in your crusades. And by the time you get into your 40s and your 50s, most people have had the crusade burned out of them. And now they're just recognizing, hey, you just really just need to keep your family and your friends safe and protect your own, which is why people, when they get older, become more conservative, because they like the life that they have and they want to protect it from change. While people that are younger don't have anything, and all they want is to change the system so that they feel that they're also being treated fairly. That's the generational turnover that occurs. And the arena changes over time. Like right now, it's all about individualism and being able to properly express your individual opinions in a very globalized world where there's a large contrast and clashing of what is considered decent or what's considered civil or what's considered appropriate for society. It's very interesting times. I can tell I'm way off in the weeds, so I think I'm going to read instead of talk. What's up? Don't conform to any political philosophy. Yep, I'm independent. Yeah, I think everyone realistically, unless you're radical, everyone realistically is independent these days. But I know when to ask for help. I also know when being taken advantage of in my life experiences. Right on. Thanks, Karen. Love to have you. I will certainly crow about it a lot once it's active. So plenty of opportunity for folks to jump on board. I'm just making sure. I need to get this project done so I'm not overwhelmed with projects. So I have more bandwidth to be able to be attentive to the community when I build it. And I'm pretty happy with the puffiness of these sleeves. Erp. Back in the days of Zynga, this was, what was this, like 2008 to 2016, like when Farmville was on the rise and like Mafia Wars and all those social games that were cropping up on Facebook that made Zynga like a titan. Those back in those days. 7:46, so I got about 10 minutes left today. I'm gonna switch my timer for 10 minutes. I was a Mafia Wars enthusiast. I was deep into Facebook. This was my 30s. I was on my own crusades, like all 30-year-olds are. And so I was on Facebook a lot, voicing my opinions, and I got into social games, Mafia Wars specifically, and it was a social, it was a pseudo-social game where characters, where players don't really directly interact, but if you see, like you can take hits on other players where you're given a random list of different people that are playing the game. And like you can send your mafia after theirs and knock them off, which basically drops their hit points down to zero. It has absolutely no impact on gameplay, other than there's like the PvP where you're taking hits on each other, and then there's the PvE where you're completing missions and gathering resources, and those resources make you stronger, so that you can send a stronger mafia after each other. And there would be clans of different mafia members that basically created, like guilds, right? Like World of Warcraft guilds, but it was of all things, it was Mafia Wars. So basically, you'd accumulate a list of names of targets in another, and like we'd have like these little tags, little like Warriors of Venom would be like WOV. So like you would have your character name, and then you'd have a tag WOV, which indicated that you were part of the WoW team. So you'd accumulate a list of WoW members, and then when you had a war, you'd be targeting WoW members only. And so at one point, the mafia that I was in, we had over 7,000 members in that guild, and like when we would have a war, like 300 of us would show up. And after being in that guild for 2 years, I became that guild master. So I was overseeing and coordinating the actions of 300 enthusiastic gamers, but also providing resources and creating like play guides for an audience of 7,000 people. Like our Facebook group was so huge, we had to have 2 groups. Like it was beyond the 5,000 person capacity, so it was massive. And that taught me a lot about leadership installation and large group dynamics, and how to basically move organizations, like large groups of people with common goals, towards specific ends. Like in this case, like engaging in a war with a specific group, or de-escalating a larger mafia from bullying your team. So like if you keep getting dropped to 0, you can't fight, so you can't engage in PvP, and it's frustrating for people that love PvP. So you'd have to kind of thread the lines of like, what tier are you as an organization? Like if you're an A-list, like if you're an S team, you're people that are basically using stolen credit cards to build characters with. The A tier teams are people that have their own resources, they're whales, that legitimately built very powerful characters that could basically throw their weight around. And then you had basically B tier is basically, or like the casuals or the freebie players. And our guild was a freebie team, but we specialized in creating style guides so that we as PvE players could collect content and collect and collaborate to be able to gather resources faster than the whales and the bullies, the bully guilds were, because they were very much, you have to, if you can't keep up with a cadence of accumulating power at this speed, you're going to get kicked out of our team. And our guild stance was, anyone can play this game if you play it smart. Here, let us show you how to build resources and how to help other people accumulate. And it was a very collective experience. And so we accumulated tons of guild members, because everyone was trying to figure out how can they gather top tier resources, top tier gear and loot, and how can they become like some people just did it to get free shit, because we provide starter kits for people, but it was very much under the frame of, we want you to become somebody that can help other people accumulate growth. So we're going to teach you how to fish so you can help other people learn how to fish, so that instead of draining resources, you can pay back resources by giving them to other people that are new to the team. All with the idea of, we'll teach you how to level up fast enough that you can keep rejoining PvP fights, so that you can participate in the PvP stuff as a free player as much as the whales could that spent stupid amounts of money on stolen credit cards. So, but that taught me a ton of lessons about player dynamics, about personality conflicts, about cult of personalities, about identifying threats inside of organizations that can destabilize the power base. It was fascinating. I spent like maybe 5 years doing this. And that was it ate up a lot of my resources. Like I wasn't really painting during that time because I was investing so much in this guild stuff. But that was a very focused group. The moderating that I do now, like on Indestructiboy's channel, is a broader interest because people would talk about more stuff than just the game because it's a legitimate community. So it was a really fun evolution there. Yeah, I'm rambling again. I gave up on Facebook. Yeah, political. Yes. I barely use Facebook. I don't spend any time on Facebook anymore. I used to advertise every week my books. I don't even do that anymore. Like, I've completely bailed on Facebook. I need to get back into it because I've got a decent audience there. At least I had one. It was too many spoons. I couldn't do all the books that I'm doing and the moderating that I'm doing on Discord and the artwork and the streaming and still stay up with Facebook. So something had to break, and it was definitely Facebook that broke. But yeah, I am the golden era of social media is it is gone, and because it's all becoming corporatized, and authoritarianism is attempting to usurp social media access to drive specific messages and to, Bureau of Information stuff like from 1984, Orwellian shit. It's on the rise. And I'm happy with this. Boy, I'm way off in the weeds today, aren't I? Obviously, I'll have to drop in hair and do a little bit more shading and colorization here, but I'm pretty happy with how this is looking. And a decent looking dude here. Only have a few minutes left today. So I'm gonna leave that. That's a pretty solid base. It still needs. There we go. Perfect timing. It still needs some detail, but I like how it's sitting. So what I'm gonna do is when we come back tomorrow, I'm going to do this same treatment for this character, then this character, then this character. So we're just gonna drill through those. This is, what was that, like 90 minutes that I got this guy to a place where he's sitting decent. It doesn't have enough detail compared to the rest of the piece, so we need to continue working on that. But it's a good frame. Like, that's a good silhouette. Each of these components, like the back of the head, the hands, the spyglass, the doublet, the belt, those are all well separated and fairly well sculpted silhouettes that I can then fill in with detail. And that detail filling process is always a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. So I'll do that same detailing here to get all of these to the same level of mostly just block print with a little like in like the shading is starting to be inferred, but we'll ramp up the shading on like the folds of the garment and stuff like that as this comes in. But I'm just kind of moving across the piece right now, making sure all of these have the same amount of attention, including the weapon. So once we have all the characters done, we'll be able to put in detail here, and then that'll inform it. The amount of detail here will be the maximum amount of detail. So this character, and this character will have less detail than this foreground character, and then that will also help pace like any kind of decoration or grain or texture that we put on the ballista as well. That'll be informed by the amount of detail that the characters that are tending to it have as well. And having said all of that, there's not a lot of detail on these ships, far less so the Night Spider back here. But we're degrading the amount of detail in these ships as we move further away from the foreground, which is a way for you to indicate distance by decreasing detail. So obviously, like the amount of detail I have on this character now is almost equal to the amount of detail I have on these characters that are aboard these ships. So anything that I do to ramp up the amount of detail on these foreground characters immediately places them as higher priority in the hierarchy of being noticed than these silhouettes that we have on these ships in the background. So these are using diffusion of contrast that we have on the ship that's even further back here. We're going to want to have like there's more grit on these foreground rocks than we're going to have on the grit of the rocks back here. So we're degrading the amount of detail as we move further away from the foreground, which is how art is supposed to work. So we're doing well. We set the minimum amount of detail that can be in a piece with the ships that we have back here. So as I move forward, I want to even out the amount of base of form on each of these characters, and then we'll step up from these to this one, to this one, to this one, to this one. We'll work our way back around because this character is going to have less detail than this character. Luckily, this character's back is to us, so we don't have to murder ourselves like on facial details and expressions. Those are being minimized. We can almost gesture and characterize them, with this being the only character that we can really see the face of. That's going to be the one that's going to be setting the tone of the energy of this team. And if this guy has like a panic look about him, then this gesture, these postures, are going to lend a lot more weight into what's actually going on this deck. So that's the idea anyway. That's the thought process that we're going into the composition of it all. So I'm really happy with this piece. I'm very proud of it, and I like where we're going with it. I love this book altogether. I'm super, super thrilled and delighted that that I'm producing that. This is me. This is what I've evolved into being able to create. That's very exciting to me. So anyway, we're done for the day. I gotta get out of here. Yeah, thanks, Karen. It is coming along well. All of it is. This is a good piece. This whole book is going to end up being a really good piece. Yeah, we got a bunch of them coming down the pipe. I'm really excited about it. So anyway, that's it for today. I'll be out for the rest of the day. I'll be back tomorrow morning. We're going to keep building on characters here. Tomorrow night, we're going to be back to do more Eberron cartography for the abandoned farmhouse homestead. We'll be back here Friday morning as well. Friday lunch, we're going to have a special Friday lunch where we're going to continue the martial power development for the Rune Knight that we didn't have time to complete yesterday. Saturday morning, we'll be back again, and we'll continue the commission for Andy Healy and Brian Holmes' Enter Within the Shatter adventure, Underdark adventure that we've been building the cover for. And then we'll do it all again next Monday. So thanks a lot for being around. Karen, thanks for the conversation. Let me rant. If you guys think the artwork is fun, or if you want to see more D&D stuff, or if you just like the cut of my jib, please like and subscribe. We're trying to build up to 500 subscribers here before the end of the year. God bless people for showing up and liking what we got going on. Check out my books. There's a lot of links in the detail down here of different books. They all have extensive free previews. So you can check out the books if you're a D&D enthusiast. Make use of them. Run a 20-level campaign with them if you want. And if they brought value to you, consider making a purchase to help support more shenanigans in the future. So I'm not sure what my final screenshot on the bubble is going to be, but here's our page. I'm really proud of it. Thanks a lot, guys. All right, I'll see you on the other side.